I'm here today because I want to talk a little bit about the great Marine Corps tradition, 250 years of it. I want to talk about the tradition that all of us standing under this bright California sun, and man, it is bright. We all chose, however many years ago, to adopt that Marine Corps tradition as our own. A tradition, and that just 3 short weeks will reach its 250th year. Now, as many of you in this audience know, the Corps found its origins in the autumn of 1775. And a venue may be familiar to you, a bar in Philadelphia called Tun Tavern. The very first bar in the United States of America that would come to regret serving United States Marines. So here we are in Tun Tavern almost 250 years ago. And what we did in that moment was we answered the call of service. Because even before we had a Declaration of Independence, the Continental Congress organized an army and a navy to fight the British, but they recognized they needed something a little bit extra. They needed a force that could fight just as comfortably on land as it could on sea, that was able to move fast, strike hard, and hold its ground. So on November 10th, 1775, Congress resolved to raise 2 battalions of Continental Marines. Captain Samuel Nicholas established that first recruitment drive at Tun Tavern in Philadelphia in search of a few good men. He was seeking young, able-bodied citizens, men who relished the opportunity to fight tyrants, yes, but more importantly, who were eager to answer that first call of duty of a young nation. Just a few months later, Captain Nicholas was personally leading those Marines in a daring raid on New Providence, receiving British forts and supplies in the Bahamas. And 2 short years later, the Marines joined forces with the legendary John Paul Jones, the father of the American Navy, beginning a great tradition that has survived the entire term of our Marine Corps, that when the Marines and the Navy go to war together, they always fight well and they always win. The War of Independence set a blueprint that Marines follow to this day. Boldness in action, unity in purpose, and a lightning readiness to go wherever the nation required. In battle after battle, the United States Marine Corps has broken the backs of empires. You've toppled tyrants. You've hanged pirates and hunted down America's foes across the 7 seas. And Pete, it turns out we're hunting some pirates today, aren't we? From Tripoli to the halls of Montezuma, from Bella Wood to Iwo Jima, and from Chosin Reservoir to Quezon, we Marines have repeatedly earned our reputation as the first to fight and the last to leave. And as all of you know, that legacy only grew stronger after 9/11. Within weeks after the attack, the 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit, the 15th MEU, already forward deployed on September the 11th, helped launch the most ambitious amphibious assault in the history of the United States of America. And that's just how Marines are wired. No matter where, no matter when, the Corps will always uphold its reputation for discipline and for unshakable focus. Now, I always think back to what Army Major General Frank Lowe had to say this about the Corps in 1952. The safest place in Korea was right behind a platoon of Marines. Lord, how they could fight, and what a great testament to the United States Marine Corps. Because while the world keeps changing, new weapons, new threats, and new ways in which we wage war, the nation will forever need the United States Marine Corps. And in the Trump administration, we know that the work you do, protecting our country, putting your lives on the line to defend our way of life, is at the heart of Marine Corps service. Now, when officials try to shift focus to mandating diversity quotas or they try to inject partisan politics into the American armed forces, they impede the Marine Corps' ability to do its best work. And that's why the Secretary of War and the President of the United States have stood so firmly against that crap. Because when you can't operate at your best on the battlefield, it puts everybody's lives at risk. And it's why we're recentering the focus of all of our military, including the Marine Corps, on those timeless values of discipline, readiness, and faith in one another. Now, I remember when I was a young recruit in boot camp talking about how politically correct things got maybe over the last few years, and I compare it to my time in the Marine Corps. I remember I was lining up as a young recruit to go to church one Sunday morning, and back then there were two lines. There was the Catholic line, and there was the Protestant line. And I remember we all get into our lines, and there's one recruit who's just kind of standing there by himself. And you know, the folks watching on TV may not realize that Marines refer to themselves in the third person when they're in recruit training, because you haven't earned the title of United States Marine, and so you have to say this recruit instead of I. And so you've got this one recruit standing out there by himself, and the drill instructor says, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" And the recruit says, "This that didn't work in the Biden administration, Pete. That didn't work in the Biden administration, but now we recognize that it is not our diversity that makes us stronger. It is our common purpose. It is our common mission. And it is the fact that every single person here bleeds Marine Corps green. And I think that all of you should realize that from the President of the United States on down, this government is proud of you. It's proud of the tradition of the Marine Corps, and it's proud of the fact that that great tradition has custodians in each and every single person here, each and every single Marine who is serving today. And I hope that the proud Marine Corps tradition, you heard Pete talk about this, Chesty Puller, Dan Daly, John Basilone, all of these great Marine Corps heroes, they should inspire you through their action to be the very best Marine in the future that you can be. Now, I remember so many people who made my Marine Corps journey and made the country better in the process. I remember a gunnery sergeant who saved me from financial ruin. I was a young Lance Corporal, and I was gonna go to an off-base car dealership and buy a used car with a low dealer-provided interest rate of 22%. These Marines behind me, you aren't supposed to nod your head at that part, guys. No 22% interest rate. Navy Federal Credit Union, get a better interest rate, and then go and buy a car, and that's exactly what I did. I remember that gunny, and I remember a young Marine who was younger than I was. Chase knows who I'm talking about, a Puerto Rican Marine who grew up in New York City. You too, huh? A man I thought I had nothing in common with, but who I learned bled Marine Corps green just like I did, and who came to my inauguration as Vice President of the United States. I remember a Marine I served with, a guy whose political beliefs you might call far left, but despite the craziness of our politics today, remains one of my best friends and is a man I would trust with my life. I remember the Marines raising the flag over Iwo Jima, etching in American memory the importance of respecting and honoring our beautiful national symbol. I remember all my friends from the Marines, men and women, some of whom retired and some of whom made the Marine Corps proud in the civilian world. I remember General Chuck Krulak, who I met at my cousin's boot camp graduation. He was the 31st Commandant of the Marine Corps, and I was probably 14 years old, and I was taller than he was. But he was tough as nails. I met him as Vice President, by the way, just a few months ago, He's still very short, and he's still tough as nails, and he still loves the Marine Corps as much as he did on his first day of service. Now, he had a phrase, I'm sure you guys have heard it. He said that the most important thing the Marine Corps does for this nation is to win battles and to make United States Marines. Today, we remember a fallen Marine from the 3rd Marine Air Wing who died not far from here on a training mission. He died so recently, as a matter of fact, I can't even say his name publicly, but I want all of us to know and send a message to his family that we remember them and we know that his Marine Corps service was not in vain. Let's give an hoorah for that fallen Marine. I know that all of us remember the friends who went off to war, and we particularly remember the ones who were mangled in combat or who never came home at all. Every single one of you has memories like this. Every single one of you is lucky enough to have friends like mine. Within each of you is your own Marine Corps legacy burning every single day. And because of that, every one of our fellow Marines lives on. As Gunnery Sergeant Hartman in Full Metal Jacket, we like Full Metal Jacket, Marines? He said, but the Marine Corps lives on forever, and that means you live forever. Our motto, Marines, is Semper Fidelis, which means in Latin, always faithful. Though the shape of the battlefield will change, our nation will be just fine, so long as fellow Marines just like you remain faithful to that great Marine Corps legacy. My fellow Marines, you have the watch now. You honor that legacy by how you carry yourself in public. You honor it by how you treat your friends and family. You honor it by how you contribute to your communities, and most importantly, you honor it in how you fight and win the nation's battles. So from one vice president to an incredible United States Marine Corps, keep kicking ass, keep taking names. Semper Fidelis, Marines. Happy 250th birthday. God bless you.